In 2024, humanity discovered something extraordinary. A weekly injection that could quiet hunger, stabilize blood sugar, and melt weight faster than anything medicine had seen. Headlines called it the end of obesity, the billion-dollar miracle, the cure. But I'm a pathologist, and in my world, miracles don't really exist in this setting. There's always mechanisms behind everything. Anytime you override a biological system that took 2 million years to evolve, you are making a trade. And every trade has an invoice, a cost to pay, and a receipt. Right now, the public conversation around GLP-1 medications, Semaglutide and Tirzepatide, or as you may know them commercially, Ozempic and Mounjaro, is chaotic. Half promise salvation and half warn of disaster. Very few explain the biology. So today, we're going to fix that. Please feel free to leave your experience in the comments below. I read every single one. I'm Dr. Amin Hedayat, triple board certified pathologist, physician, and assistant clinical professor. My career is spent reading the truth written inside human cells. Cells don't argue. Cells don't lie. They respond to chemistry. If clear science-based breakdowns like this help you, feel free to like this video so more people can find evidence over confusion. This video is your evidence-based, mechanism-first understanding of GLP-1 drugs, how they work, why they sometimes backfire, and how to use them safely. We'll walk through the evolutionary trap behind modern obesity, the lizard brain that controls hunger, the Gila monster discovery that changed medicine, the engineering behind 7-day appetite suppression, the benefits, the trade-offs, and the real-world risks, and finally, the safe, medically aligned exit strategy. This is not fear, this is not hype, and it's purely physiology. If you appreciate science explained clearly, liking and subscribing helps these videos reach more people who need clarity and not confusion. So let's begin. You first have to understand why losing weight is biologically difficult. Let me start with a truth almost no one hears from their doctor. Obesity is not a moral failure. It's an evolutionary success. For 99.9% of human history, starvation, not overeating, was the #1 cause of death. Anthropologists writing in the Journal of Human Evolution describe how hunger shaped early human survival. The people who could store fat the most efficiently survived. Those who burned through calories quickly didn't. So you are the descendants of the world's best fat storers. Your biology is optimized to survive scarcity, but you live in an age of abundance. Your genes expect famine. You're surrounded by Uber Eats and DoorDash. And by the way, no affiliation. This mismatch is what evolutionary biologists call an evolutionary mismatch. Your biology is ancient. Your environment is new. And this conflict makes weight loss feel like swimming against a biochemical current. But it gets more interesting once you understand the wiring. In the deepest part of your brain lies the hypothalamus, the lizard brain, responsible for survival, temperature, thirst, stress, and hunger. This region defends your body fat set point with military precision. It uses 2 hormones to do it. Ghrelin, which is essentially the gas pedal, it's produced by the stomach when empty. It travels up the vagus nerve and says, we need food. This is primal, overpowering, and has been shown in Nature Reviews Endocrinology to override willpower completely. Then we have leptin, which is the brake. It's produced by fat cells. When stores are full, leptin tells the brain, we have enough, stop eating. But here's the problem. In obesity, the brain becomes leptin resistant. Just like you stop smelling perfume after a few minutes. This is why someone can have 80, 100, even 150 pounds of energy stored in their body and still feel hungry. This isn't weakness, it's wiring. GLP-1 medications override this broken circuit. But the discovery didn't begin in a lab. It began in a desert with a venomous lizard. In the 1980s, scientists noticed something fascinating. If you inject sugar into someone's bloodstream, the insulin response is small. But if they drink the same sugar, the insulin response is huge. Why? Because the gut warns the body in advance. Intestinal cells called L cells release a hormone called GLP-1. GLP-1 does three things immediately. It prepares the pancreas for insulin. It slows the stomach. It tells the brain we're satisfied. This is called the incretin effect, first described in the Journal of Clinical Investigation. But natural GLP-1 breaks down in just 2 minutes because of an enzyme called DPP-4. If scientists wanted to use GLP-1 as a drug, they needed to outsmart DPP-4. The breakthrough came from a creature most people have never even heard of, the Gila monster. In the deserts, there is a venomous lizard that eats only a few times a year. A researcher named Dr. John Eng discovered its venom contained a molecule called exendin-4, described in endocrinology in 1992. Exendin-4 acts like GLP-1, binds the same receptor, but doesn't break down quickly. It doesn't get sliced apart by DPP-4. It survives. This was the blueprint for the first GLP-1 medications. But modern scientists took this idea and engineered something far more powerful, a hormone that can survive for 7 days. This is the part that blows people's minds. Semaglutide, the molecule in Ozempic and Wegovy, is a triumph of modern chemistry. Researchers wanted something that behaved like natural GLP-1, but lasted long enough to be effective as a weekly therapy. They did two brilliant things, and it was discussed in Nature Chemical Biology in 2017. They changed one amino acid. This prevents DPP-4 from cutting the molecule. They attached a C18 fatty acid tail. This tail binds to albumin, which is a massive protein circulating in your blood for about a week. Albumin acts like a cruise ship. Semaglutide attaches to it and goes through your bloodstream for days. A hormone that should last only 2 minutes now lasts 168 hours. This one modification changed the landscape of metabolic medicine. And then came the upgrade. Tirzepatide, known as Mounjaro and Zepbound, doesn't activate just one receptor. It activates two, GLP-1 and GIP. The dual action was first described in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2022, comparing Tirzepatide to Semaglutide. When combined, GLP-1 quiets appetite. GIP stabilizes nausea and enhances glucose control. This synergy allows for deeper appetite reduction with potentially better tolerance for many patients. This is why Tirzepatide often leads to greater average weight loss than Semaglutide in clinical trials, though individual results vary. We've covered the evolutionary trap, the wiring, the discovery, the engineering, and the upgrade. Now we need to talk about the part nobody explains clearly. The trade-offs, the risks, the physiology behind side effects. It's not fear, not hype, just biology. GLP-1 medications work in part by slowing stomach emptying, something documented extensively in gastroenterology research, including clinical gastroenterology and hepatology in 2023. For many people, this effect is mild and therapeutic. It keeps food in the stomach longer, reducing appetite. But for a subset of individuals, especially at higher doses, this delay can become more pronounced. Some people experience nausea, reflux, bloating, early fullness, slower digestion. Most of the time, these symptoms are manageable. But sometimes they improve with dose adjustment. But in rare cases, the slowing can be significant enough that clinicians evaluate for delayed gastric emptying, sometimes referred to as gastroparesis. Case reports published in GI literature describe a small number of patients developing more severe symptoms, bloating, vomiting, and difficulty handling solid meals. Again, it's rare, but it's real. Not a guarantee, but important to understand. And then there's something patients don't hear until the day of surgery: the anesthesia problem. If your stomach empties more slowly than usual, you may have residual food in your stomach, even after fasting. This matters because anesthesia turns off the protective airway reflexes. If vomiting occurs while sedated, stomach contents can enter the lungs. Sometimes anesthesiologists call this aspiration. Because of this, the American Society of Anesthesiologists in 2023 issued updated guidelines recommending special precautions for patients on GLP-1 medications before surgery. This doesn't mean anesthesia is unsafe, but it does mean your anesthesiologist needs to know you're on these medications. So awareness is prevention. Let's talk about the pancreas, one of the most misunderstood topics in the GLP-1 discussion. There have been reports of pancreatitis, which is the inflammation of the pancreas in people taking GLP-1 medications. Large clinical trials, including those published in Gastroenterology in 2022, show that the overall risk appears low, but the prescribing information include caution for a reason. People with a history of pancreatitis, very high triglycerides, heavy alcohol use already carry a baseline risk for pancreatic inflammation. For these individuals, clinicians often use extra caution when considering GLP-1 drugs. Most patients will never experience this issue, but if someone on these medications develops persistent, severe abdominal pain, that is something a physician should evaluate. This isn't fear, it's simply understanding the physiology and respecting individual risk factors. Every GLP-1 medication has a boxed warning related to thyroid C-cell tumors in animals, specifically rodents. Here's the nuance. Rodents have many GLP-1 receptors on their thyroid C-cells. Humans have far fewer. This is why rodent studies showed tumors and human studies have not shown a clear increase, at least so far. This study was published in Thyroid Journal in 2023. However, and this is important, people with a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer or the genetic condition MEN2 are generally advised not to take these medications. Not because we've proven harm in humans, but because we don't yet have 20-year population data. This is what good medicine does. It weighs uncertainty honestly and protects the people who have known genetic vulnerabilities. Muscle loss. This is the most underrated biological trade-off and one that surprises almost everyone. When you lose weight quickly from any method, you lose both fat and muscle. On GLP-1 medications, appetite drops dramatically. Protein intake often decreases. Strength training becomes harder. Nausea can reduce food variety. Emerging studies include those in the Obesity Journal in 2023 show that without deliberate nutritional and resistant training support, some patients lose a meaningful percentage of lean mass. Why does this matter? Because muscle is the engine of your metabolism, the main site of glucose disposal, a buffer against insulin resistance, a protector against falls, a predictor of longevity. So less muscle means lower metabolic rate. Lower metabolic rate means easier weight gain. This is not unavoidable, but without strategy, it is very common. This is why the protein floor and strength training, which we'll cover in the next part, are non-negotiable. Now let's talk about facial changes. There's a lot of buzz about Ozempic face. Here's the truth. It's not the drug damaging the skin. It's rapid fat loss. When fat pads in the face shrink quickly, the skin doesn't always retract at the same pace. Plastic surgeons and dermatologists, including those publishing in the Aesthetic Surgery Journal in 2024, describe this as a simple volume change. It's not a toxicity reaction. It's physics. Slower, steadier weight loss preserves facial structure better. Strength training and protein intake helps too. This is a topic I hear quietly in clinics and see openly in support groups. Some people describe feeling less impulsive, less interested in food, calmer, more stable. And for many, this is a benefit, especially those who struggle with emotional or binge eating. But a subset describe something different: less motivation, less pressure, muted joy, a grayscale feeling, lower reward drive. It's not sadness. It's not quite depression, just reduced spark. Preclinical research in translational psychiatry published in 2024 and ongoing human studies suggest GLP-1 receptors in the reward pathways, including the nucleus accumbens, may modulate dopamine signaling. Not everyone, not dramatically in most, but enough for people to notice. This is why monitoring your mental and emotional landscape is important while on these medications. If you feel flatter than expected, your clinician probably wants to know. Now we arrive at the question everyone asks. If I stop Ozempic or Mounjaro, will I gain the weight back? The most evidence-aligned answer is many people regain weight without a strategy. Not because they failed, because biology rebounds. In the Step 1 extension trial, published in New England Journal of Medicine in 2022, participants regained roughly 2/3 of the weight they lost 12 months after stopping, unless they had a robust lifestyle support. Here's why this happens. This is the part nobody explains clearly. Hunger hormones surge back. While on GLP medications, ghrelin, your hunger hormone, is suppressed. When the medication leaves your system, ghrelin doesn't return to baseline. It overshoots. This is well documented in metabolic studies published in Endocrine Reviews in 2021. Number 2, appetite returns faster than satiety signals the brainstem, the hypothalamus, regains sensitivity before the gut does. That mismatch creates a transient hyperhunger period. Number 3 is muscle mass has decreased. During weight loss, people often lose some lean mass. Less muscle means a slower metabolic rate. This is well documented in obesity journals in 2023. So when appetite returns, the engine is smaller. Fat reaccumulates faster than muscle. This is a universal physiological pattern called preferential adipose regain. This was demonstrated in Metabolism journal quite well in 2019. Fat comes back quickly. Muscle rebuilds slowly. This combination creates what researchers call rebound physiology. This is not about willpower. This is not about character. This is chemistry. It's physics. And physics can be engineered. That brings us to the path forward, which are my protocols that are based on peer-reviewed literature. If you are on GLP-1 medications now, or if you ever plan to stop, these next steps are core of protecting your biology. Of course, this has to happen after you speak to your personal physician. These protocols are supported by evidence from journals like Sports Medicine, Cell Metabolism, and Nutrition Reviews. This is how you prevent muscle loss. This is how you minimize rebound and land safely. Rule number 1, the protein floor. This is a non-negotiable. When appetite is low, protein is the first thing to disappear, but it is the last thing your body wants to lose. Aim for adequate protein intake daily. Your clinician should guide your specific target. If solid food feels heavy, there are alternatives such as clear whey isolate, collagen and essential amino acids, dairy proteins, and egg white proteins. Why? Because leucine and other amino acids directly signal the muscle to stay intact. Protein is proactively your muscle insurance, and muscle is your metabolic insurance. This was shown in Journal of Physiology in 2020. Rule number 2, strength training is mandatory. There is no drug, no supplement, no hack that can replace mechanical load on muscle. Resistant training 2 to 4 days per week is helpful. You can try squats, deadlifts, rows, presses, pulls. This signals your body, don't break down this tissue. We need it. Studies in Sports Medicine 2023 show that even 2 days per week of resistant training can drastically reduce lean mass loss during weight loss. This is not about looking fit. This is about metabolic preservation. Rule number 3, taper slowly. If you ever decide, of course in synergy with your medical doctor, to come off GLP-1 medications, do not stop abruptly. A sudden drop in GLP-1 signaling creates a rapid rebound in appetite. A gradual taper allows hunger hormones to recalibrate, satiety signals to normalize, your routine to strengthen, your muscles to grow, your metabolism to stabilize. This approach is supported by clinical observations in obesity medicine practices and aligns with the physiology described in endocrinology and metabolism clinics, which was published in 2022. Your body needs time to readjust. Give it that time. Rule number 4 is use fiber as a mechanical satiety tool. Once medication doses decrease, your stomach begins sending hunger signals again. To bridge this gap, use high-volume, low-calorie foods to stretch the stomach's mechanical receptors. You can try oats, beans, berries, vegetables, lentils, psyllium husk. This strategy is backed by satiety research published in Appetite Journal in 2020. Chemical satiety by GLP-1 transitions to mechanical satiety with fiber and volume. This is how you hand the baton from the drug to your stomach. Rule number 5, monitor mood, motivation, and joy. GLP-1 receptors exist in the reward pathways of the brain. Some individuals experience a calmer, quieter relationship with food, which can be beneficial. But a smaller subset describe it muted emotional tone. If your motivation drops, if you lose interest in hobbies, if life feels flatter, speak with your physician. Studies in translational psychiatry in 2024 are exploring this finding. It may be dose-related, transient, or it may require adjustment. Your emotional landscape is as important as your metabolic one. GLP-1 medications have taught us something profound. Obesity is biology, not a moral issue. For many, these medications reduce cardiovascular risk, improve metabolic health, stabilize blood sugar, calm obsessive food thoughts, break cycles that have lasted for decades. For others, these drugs are a bridge, a tool that helps them build new habits while biology stabilizes. And for some, there are real trade-offs that require careful navigation. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. There is only informed consent, evidence-based decision-making, and respect for the complexity of the human body. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not a moral failure. You're a human being living in an environment your biology was never designed for. And now, finally, you have a tool, a powerful one, paired with a protocol that honors your physiology. Thank you for your time, your curiosity, and your commitment to understanding your body on a deeper level. Let's continue building a life that is healthy, coherent, energized, and uninflamed. I'm Dr. Amin Hedayat, and I'll see you in the next video.